All right, alhamdulillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. So I wanted to let everybody know that this is being recorded and inshallah we'll upload it to YouTube later. Thank you for joining us for Khalifa Conversations. I really appreciate it because you could be doing anything you want to do on a Sunday right before some people, working from home or just working, period. So thank you for joining us. So we started Khalifa Conversations. Sebam and I started Khalifa Conversations during Ramadan, and we were encouraged to continue on a monthly basis, inshallah. May Allah grant us success. So my name is Corey. I'm the founder of Green Ramadan, and co-hosting with me in this discussion is Sebam, the executive director of Green Muslims. So as we're settling in, I would like to encourage everyone to go on mute so we can hear our speakers clearly, unless you're contributing to the conversation. Also, if you want to join in the conversation, you can either raise your hand or say something in the chat. Okay, I'm just letting somebody else in, inshallah. Okay. All right, great. So, like I said, feel free to jump in the conversation by raising your hand or using the chat. Inshallah, we will make sure everyone has a voice. So the purpose of Khalifa Conversations is to have discussions about practical ways to live the environmental spirit of Islam with our community. So inshallah, you will join us, every month. If you have a topic that you'd like to have discussed, or a person who you'd like to join in this discussion, let us know. DM us on Instagram or contact us via our websites, greenramadan.com or greenmuslims.org. And today we're talking about eating local. And I will let Sebam introduce our topic and our speaker more. Thank you. Bismillah.
Thank you, Corey. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we're actually excited to have Sister Amina Maameri of Tayyib Market with us for our Khalifa Conversations. She is going to be talking about Tayyib Market in particular, but also we hope to open up a conversation about the benefits to eating local, buying and eating local from small farms as near to our locations as possible. Tayyib Market is a relatively new Northern Virginia-based family-owned co-op that provides members with locally grown produce. Their boxes are delivered weekly, and they allow people who don't usually get to the farmers markets, for example, to enjoy the benefits of eating local and fresh. And the additional benefit that they get is that they get a discount. If you're just buying from the farmers market, you'll probably pay more than you get from joining the co-op and getting a weekly crate of fresh vegetables. Amina will introduce us all to the co-op in particular that she started with the help of her husband, telling us a little bit more about why she started it and how it works. And then we can go into, I was thinking she could introduce the co-op and the reasons behind it, and then we can go into a Q&A and discussion. Feel free to ask Amina about the co-op in particular, but then also if you'd like to ask questions or bring up points about the benefits of buying from small local farms, we'd like to talk more about that as well. So without further ado, Amina, thank you so much for joining us. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about why you decided to start the co-op and how it works.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Sister Sebam and Sister Corey, for the opportunity to be on Khalifa Conversations. Tayyib Market is something that it's kind of been brewing over the past couple of years, and alhamdulillah, this year we kind of launched and took off. Alhamdulillah, I am a mom of 2 kids, and I think that was one of the driving forces behind trying to create Tayyib Market and trying to create access to produce that is locally sourced and seasonal, because that's something that I wanted for my family at the very beginning. For Tayyib Market, I guess it started when we first moved to Virginia. This fall will be 4 years, alhamdulillah, from California, where there's an abundance of vegetables, you know, everything from avocados to bananas and potatoes. You know, there's really no restriction over there. And even when you are buying from a grocery store, a lot of things end up being local. You know, even Mexico sometimes can be considered local when you're in California. So moving to Virginia, it was a little bit of a surprise to see less variety in farmers markets, definitely, but also a higher price point for groceries and produce. So I started to go to local farmers markets and try to give my family the same selection that we had. It was a little bit difficult at first. I found myself going to local farmers markets, you know, 1, 2, sometimes 3 times a week, just to meet the need that we needed. And, you know, being a mom, that's not always the most convenient way to grocery shop. So what I started doing instead, and having left a full-time job and transitioning into a single income household, you know, farmers markets were a little bit on the higher price point and created more accessibility barriers for my family. So I started looking at basically the grocery ads of local stores and browsing to see, like, what are the sales that are going on, what can we buy? And without even really consciously trying to do that, we ended up eating seasonally, because that's what is available, readily available and in abundance, and generally cheaper. So we started eating a lot of strawberries when strawberries were in season, and then those would become more expensive once they left their season. Once the summer came in, I kind of dabbled with the idea of going to farmers markets again and trying to see, you know, what we can get. And subhanAllah, a farmer's market opened up that was walking distance to my home. And I started going there weekly and started having these conversations with farmers to learn about their agricultural practices, asking, you know, when was this produce picked? How, you know, how are you organic, for example? A lot of times farmers are not organic certified because of the cost of becoming organic certified, although their practices are organic or even beyond organic. So that's something that, you know, if I hadn't asked those questions, I'd just think, okay, it's not organic, I'm not going to buy it. So having those conversations with local farmers opened up the door to kind of look beyond just what was available on grocery store shelves and on farmers market stands. What ended up happening with this specific farmers market, the organization that was hosting the farmers market, maybe they didn't have those conversations with their farmers to kind of see what their clientele were like. And the specific farmer that I worked with, he had a lot of restaurants that would come and buy in bulk from him. And this farmer's market was located in a shopping center kind of plaza where people had to park and walk a distance to come. So he lost a lot of his larger clientele due to that. So the farmer was losing money every single week coming to this farmer's market. He continued to come in an effort to kind of help him out and also try to find, you know, a little bit of a more accessible way for me to get produce for myself and my friends. I basically, you know, we start the conversation of buying in bulk as if we were a restaurant or, you know, someone who needed higher volume. And the farmer was willing, and we started buying, you know, if we bought at least 40 pounds of produce a week, that was the deal I originally had last year. If we bought at least 40 pounds of produce a week, we were able to get basically a group discount altogether. And we would split our produce across, you know, 2 or 3 friends that I had, a friend and a neighbor last year that, you know, hopped onto this with me. And we just did that small scale last year, supporting one farmer that we got our groceries, our produce from, and one farmer that we got our fruit from. And as the season ended in October, we kind of phased out of buying from farmers markets and went back to, you know, the typical grocery store way. And as this year rolled in, as you guys are all aware, you know, with COVID-19, there's a heightened anxiety going to grocery stores. People are, you know, trying to social distance and avoid that contact as much as possible. I personally didn't know if I was ready to take it larger scale, being just me and my husband helping out. But just seeing the conversations that were happening on WhatsApp groups and on Nextdoor, just between neighbors, a lot of people were showing interest for things like this. And not a lot of people were going to farmers markets, because in the beginning, if you guys go to farmers markets, you know, they were closed for a while and then they slowly started opening up, and there are a lot of restrictions. It tends to get crowded. I personally have never taken my kids, for example. So a lot of people still, there's a need for it, but there is more barriers in place. So a month ago, we decided to open it up larger, basically go public with the idea of Tayyib Market. And I pulled from my background as a user experience designer to build out the website, mostly in an effort to kind of encourage people to think. It's called reverse meal planning, where you receive produce and then you work backwards to meal plan based on what you have, versus planning a menu and then grocery shopping. And when you do that, sometimes you end up going to the grocery store multiple times a week because you forgot one thing or the other. So alhamdulillah, that first week was a trial. The second week we got a couple more subscriptions. And now we've kind of been coming and going, you know, with the flexibility that we offer. Some people are choosing a one-time box to just try it out and they later subscribe. Some people with smaller families or couples are choosing the bi-weekly option, because that smaller portion, or the portion that we have, you know, they're able to split into two smaller portions over the course of the week. So alhamdulillah, kind of trying to work around what people want and how they are kind of working through their produce and their grocery needs, and meeting that through also helping local farmers. So the first week we worked with one farmer. Now we kind of fluctuate between working with 2 to 4 farmers depending on what's picked that week. And each week the box varies. So yeah, that's kind of the story of Tayyib Market, providing the flexibility, the accessibility to local, and supporting these local farmers while we work forward in that.
When you were talking about reverse meal planning, that reminded me of, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. When you were talking about reverse meal planning, that reminded me of the chef shows that my daughters like to watch, where they're like given a box of food and they have to make a meal from it. So it can be kind of fun sometimes. You can feel like you're on one of those shows. I was wondering if you know what, it could also this could be beneficial, you know, for homebound people, you know, even outside of COVID type situations where, you know, if seniors, they can't get out, maybe they can't drive, they don't have access to a car, they don't feel safe going out. It could be, this is like, you know, a great option for people who are homebound. I think that's really cool. So I wanted to, when you were telling us about your story, you made the connection between seasonal and Tayyib. I was wondering if you could share that with everyone here.
Of course. So Tayyib is different than halal. For example, a lot of people think that Tayyib and halal are synonymous. They're actually different. Halal is the way that the animal is slaughtered. Tayyib goes beyond that. So when I was growing up, my mom always made the dua that she had adjusted from the prophetic dua that says, Allahumma ij'alhu aklan halalan tayyiban mubarakan fihi, which means that, oh Allah, make this food halal and tayyib and have blessings in it. And tayyib goes beyond halal to include, the way that the animal is treated, the way that in specifically animals, the way the animal is treated, the way the animal is fed, the way it's cared for, and the way the meat is cared for. So with produce, it's very similar, that we're able to consume things that are tayyib to our bodies, because our body is a vessel and it is an amana, a trust from Allah. So when we eat things that are local and seasonal, Allah has given us certain foods during certain times, and there's a wisdom behind that. SubhanAllah, I was just reading an article from a Muslim doctor talking about the benefit of eating peaches and how peaches are available in the summer, and they actually strengthen your skin and allow a natural kind of sunblock layer that your body, you won't burn as quickly. Watermelon, the same thing, although you do have to eat a lot of it. Wire orange is available in the winter time, higher vitamin C. All of these things that are tayyib, that are clean and pure and beneficial to our bodies, fall under the category of tayyib. And in the same way, when we're able to buy local from farmers, we're sustaining the community that is around us, and at the same time, your food is traveling less distance to get to you, and so there's less emissions. You're not harming the environment. The food is higher in nutritional value because it hasn't traveled in a fridge for days or weeks to get to you. So it's cleaner, it's more overall just wholesome for your body to be able to eat local and eat seasonal.
You noted earlier that at the farmers market there are many stalls, many farmers who cannot claim to be organic because they haven't been certified, but that doesn't mean they're not following organic practices. My understanding is one of the other benefits of buying local is that oftentimes smaller farms, even if they're not organic, even if they're not 100% pesticide free, they use less. They definitely use less chemicals than larger farms. And so that's yet another benefit to trying to keep your produce as local as possible. But I have a question for you. I know you're just starting out, and it was my understanding that the focus is the Tyson's Corner area in Northern Virginia right now, as far as delivery and where people have to go to pick up boxes. Do you see yourself expanding the location in the near future, reaching out to more of Northern Virginia, the Washington, D.C. area? How is that looking? And connecting with more farmers?
Yes, definitely. We would love to expand. I know, like this weekend, we just introduced Silver Spring, Maryland location. We got, a couple of people interested, and we were able to do a pickup in the Muslim Community Center, MCC of Silver Spring. Right now, we are based in Tyson's. That's where I'm based. So we're kind of slowly growing out. We have a rest-in pickup on Sunday mornings, and then we deliver right now throughout the DMV. So even in DC, we could do home deliveries. If there is, I think right now, if we have 4 interest in a single location, we can open up another pickup. Another thing that I have thought about doing is even just to kind of pull in, it is a team effort, it is a community effort. To hope to have people be hosts, where one person can sign up to be a host and they receive a box at a discounted rate, and then they have a lot, 3 or 4 or 5 or how many there are boxes delivered to their home, and then people can come and pick it up from them. And so that way it's kind of creating an additional cycle of expanding accessibility. That's something that I haven't put up on the website, and I haven't really promoted that much, but if people are definitely, if they're interested, we can definitely set that up, inshallah.
I know with that idea is great, because I'm thinking like, how could I help? Like when our masajid open up, I'm sure there's got to be like 3 other people at my masjid, or even if not me, just 4 people at my masjid who are like, okay, let's make our masjid a host, and then maybe deliver, pick up from the masjid. that seems like a really cool, workable
Yeah,
idea.
definitely.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, definitely.
Sevim or anyone else, any comments or questions, please feel free.
Well, I have one little question just out of curiosity, but first and foremost, I want everyone to know that you're welcome to join in this conversation. It doesn't have to be questions specific to Tayyib Market. We want to talk more about the importance of eating locally and the challenges that we face. I also lived in California for several years, and I tell you, having a farmer's market all year round was such a joy. And trusting that I didn't have to buy the organic, which cost a bit more, because they could tell me that, yeah, we don't use that stuff. We're just a small farm. And we don't have quite the same experience in Virginia, but for many months of the year, especially in Fairfax County, sorry, in the DMV, but in Fairfax County, Virginia, they do try to keep the farmers markets going as long as possible. So it's good to make that effort to try to eat locally what is in season for as long as you possibly can. And on that note, my personal question, Amina, is what is in the boxes these days, this time of the year? Oh, and
Yeah, so right
how
now,
long do you keep going?
Sorry, what was that second question?
Okay, I finally unmuted myself. The second question I have is, how long are you able to keep the boxes coming? From what month to what month do you anticipate?
Okay. So right now, what is in season, or I'll tell you what, since when we started, we had cauliflower and broccoli in season. That's usually like end of spring. That is now phased out. You might find some broccoli here and there if you do go to your local farmer's market. But as it gets hotter, those kinds of things just kind of go out of season. Right now we're having a lot of green beans in the boxes. We have a lot of bell peppers. As it gets hotter, it's kind of ironic. The hotter the weather, the hotter the peppers. So now we're kind of starting to see serrano peppers. We'll get even like habaneros, which is the hottest pepper that the farmers we work with have. But all different kinds of colors of peppers. And, you know, it's a lot of things that you can make salsas with. Tomatoes will be available throughout the summer. Onions and potatoes, of course. Those are always staples. The way we structure our boxes is I'll always try to have the main staples, the onions, the potatoes, the tomatoes, and then one kind of green. So right now, kale and chard is in season. And then we'll supplement with different things. So last week we had some radishes, we had green beans, now flat beans are coming in. Watermelon will be coming in the next couple weeks. We actually got a couple this week. If you go on our Instagram page, I have a picture of a yellow watermelon that we are sampling from one of our farmers. It's a seeded yellow watermelon. A lot of times, you know, seeded watermelons are not out there as much, but yellow watermelons, they're really fun. They're not as sweet as the red ones, but when we had cauliflower, we had purple and orange and white cauliflower, so that was a little fun addition. Man, it's quite a variety. This week, we're starting to get peaches. We got donut peaches, which are, in my opinion, the best. They're super sweet. And we'll have peaches throughout the rest of the summer, and stone fruits will start to come in. We kind of thought about the idea of including a fruit box as well. We try to include one type of fruit each week. 2 weeks ago, we had blueberries, and then we moved into peaches. But we might transition into just having an individual fruit box where people can have that and then have the variety of all of the fruit, because we're starting to get into like the deep summer, and that's when you get the really good variety. Those things. Yeah, and on our Instagram, I usually post a picture every week of our weekly harvest, and that has all of the contents of that week. And if you sign up to be a member, you'll get those weekly emails with some recipe ideas, a picture of everything that was there, and so on.
I remember
And
growing
then
up.
the next
Oh, go
question
ahead.
you had. No, go ahead. So the next question was, how long will the season go? So usually farmers markets will go up until about October is when it starts to get pretty restricted out here in Virginia. And that's a time that some of the farmers I've spoken to, that's their vacation time. They have like 2 to 3 months of just relaxation. So we'll see if we can push it all the way to October. I'm actually expecting mid-September, end of September. So we'll see as we go, inshallah. Hopefully we're able to grow beyond me and sustain ourselves even through that, inshallah. The goal was to continue until September, but inshallah we might push it till October.
I was just saying that one of my fond memories of being at my grandmother's house in rural Alabama was her going to the like watermelon patch and picking out a watermelon and then opening it and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's yellow. You know, that'd be the highlight of our day, having a yellow watermelon. So yeah, those are some fond memories for me. I had another question for you. So for people who are used to going to markets and having what they want there at the market all the time, how do you know what is in season?
That's a good question. And I've gotten some feedbacks from our members about this. So it's hard to tell what we will have exactly in the boxes. We'll try to do the staples, like I said, the tomatoes, the onions, potatoes. People know they'll have those every week. But for example, this week I was expecting that we would have corn, but we didn't. But next week, our farmer is saying that they're expecting to have corn. So it's kind of hard to predict exactly what will go in the boxes. We have a general idea, like green beans are something that's gonna last through the summer. Bell peppers is gonna last through the summer. But we don't have the capacity right now to like customize the boxes to pick out. That was my original idea with Tayyib Market, is really just being a virtual farmers market. But it's very difficult to take individual orders and shop based on that. On our end, from an administrative rule, it is difficult to customize, and also from the farmer's part, sometimes we might go and there might not be that much of that product, because these farmers do go to multiple farmers markets throughout the week. Sometimes they sell out of a product, sometimes they do restock, but sometimes those items are just not ripe picked. So it's different than going to a grocery store. And I think this has been maybe the biggest challenge that we've been facing, is trying to like introduce and shine a light on the reverse idea, reverse meal planning, where we have a box that contains the variety, and then people work forward with it. To be honest, some people have chosen a one-time box, or they've signed up for a subscription, and after trying it, they're like, my one person told me, my husband and I we're very set on our ways, and we like certain things. And if I don't find it in my box, I'm going to end up going to the grocery store anyway, which is fine. It's different for everyone. But at the same time, I've had people tell me that the box has pushed them to be much more creative, where one person said, I've never used green beans. For some, that's a staple. For some people, it was going out of their comfort zone. Chard, in the same way, I've actually never used chard. It's something my mom used, but now that I have it in the box, it's kind of pushing me to be more creative with my meals on a weekly basis. And I think that's great. I realize it's not for everyone, but if someone is on the fence, it doesn't hurt to try it one time. That's why we have that one-time box option. And once you try it out, you can kind of see how that fits with your family and your usual meal planning ways.
So if someone is interested in, maybe they see something on your Instagram, you letting people know what is in a current box, and they're like, okay, I like that box, let me get that box, but I'm gonna wait till next week to see what's in the next box. Could they do something like that?
So what happens is we get our produce and then we ship out, we deliver, and we have our pickups the same day. But our market, our ordering closes on Thursdays or Fridays. Sometimes we push it to Fridays. We try to do Thursdays. So by Thursday, all of the orders are in, and then on Saturday is when we get our produce, and then it's sent out the same day. Because when we go to the farmer's market, I pre-order a lot of things with the farmer ahead of time, so he knows how much to bring. And then when we meet with farmers, usually at farmers markets, just to decrease the amount of stops that a farmer has to make, you know, then that's what we know exactly the selection that we have. So it's kind of, you could say a leap of faith for some people, that they're going to be getting a box of produce. But I think a lot of people, when they see the selection, and you know, my friends specifically, when I first started this, and I was pushing to have it customizable, and they were telling me like, Amina, just do your weekly shopping and expand it. Because having done it with me last year, they saw the selection that I was getting, and they trusted that I was not going to be getting, you know, anything that was not high quality, really good produce that was seasonal. They gave me that advice, and I think it's been working fairly well. But again, it's not for everyone, and I understand that.
I'd like to encourage other people to share their thoughts and ask questions, but I have to say that I think this is very exciting that you're bringing this specifically into the local Muslim communities for exactly the reason that you described, like to give it a try and see if it works. I'm sure, especially when meals tend to have a particular ethnic tendency, it can be challenging to use whatever's available locally, but it's a challenge that I'm sure it's good for everyone at some deep level, but it's good for the earth too, if we learn to little by little need less of what comes from the other side of the earth. So I really appreciate that. Now, I had tried doing a CSA in the past and found that I couldn't use up all of the vegetables in 1 week. They tended to be ones that I wasn't as familiar with, and then just was more than my family needed. How many people do you feel that this box feeds? What size family does it work for to not have to do any other vegetable shopping that week?
I would say a family of maybe 3 or up to 5 with younger children would work well. So like a couple with 3 younger children, or a couple with 2 younger children, and 1, you know, middle-aged child would be good. Speaking from experience, I have 2 young children, and me and my husband, and usually, like yesterday, we ate the green beans from last week's box. But we sign up for the box weekly, because whatever is left over kind of overlap, where I'll run out of onions, for example, but that'll come in the next week, but I'll still have some newer produce to work with. I also know someone, one of our members shared that she and a neighbor were sharing the box, which was also cool, because, you know, sometimes, like you said, with ethnic diets, you are, you know, maybe you're not going to use kale, or you're not going to use chard or certain things, and it helps to be able to share it with someone. And right now we don't have chicken or eggs or dairy products. That's something that I'm actively looking into introducing into the boxes. So there's a little bit of supplementing that's going to happen too. Eventually, that's the main goal of Tayyib Market, is to be a holistic, kind of meet all of the needs of our membership in a Tayyib way. So in the past couple weeks since we started, I've visited multiple farms out here in Virginia, learned a lot. I realized there are a lot of there's a lot of farms, but even after living in Virginia for 4 years, I didn't know about these organic chicken that were also halal, just, you know, 40 minutes from my home, because I wasn't seeking it out before. That option to add onto our boxes.
Awesome. That actually touched on another question that was in the back of my head about the possibility of partnering with halal meat sources as well. So I'm glad you're thinking about that. That will be very exciting.
Definitely.
Anybody
Yes.
else have anything? I mean, Corey and I can keep asking questions nonstop. We're really into this stuff because it has so many benefits. I tend to start with the earth, but then there's also the health of our own family, and then there's the spiritual benefit as well. Please feel free to speak up if anyone wants to ask anything.
Okay.
Thought I saw a question maybe coming.
Hi. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Can
salam.
I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Sister Beverly.
Okay. My name is, okay. Assalamu alaikum. I learned about this conversation through Fitra Farms and Sister Sakina about just before the accident. But I was curious to know what this was about, and so I'm really enjoying this. We have a halal family farm, and we're in Virginia, but we're down in the South Central area. If you've heard of Farmville or Longwood University, that's our big area. Okay, the big city for us is Farmville, but we're a diversified farm, but we mainly raise lambs. And so this is the time of year, as people are starting to think about the Eid, that we are actively pursuing and trying to involve people in seeing what we have. We do raise, because we are a rural area, we do raise a lot of our vegetables, and we have some fruit trees and that kind of thing. But hopefully we're going to get a hoop house, and that will allow us to raise even more vegetables for a longer period of time. And that will make our on-site, on-farm business more profitable through the year beyond the Eids. Okay. But we are interested in helping people find halal lambs that we have. And we sell on the hoof. We're not a slaughterhouse facility yet. That's in the future, inshallah. But we do have a facility for slaughtering the lambs for the Eid here on our farm. So that's something that I would like to share with people. Anyone you know who might be interested can contact us. And my email, when you see it, is our actual farm email, abdusaborhomestead.com. But this has been very interesting, very inspiring. Okay, yes, very inspiring.
Let's be sure to share the email if we can. I mean, feel free to put it in the messages for everyone. This is very exciting, and I think this can be a common theme for our Khalifa Conversations. Local markets and distributors that the community can reach out to and maintain a more halal, a more tayyib diet while helping the environment as well. So please share it. And maybe you should come speak sometime as well.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah. This has been very nice. Inshallah.
Thank you for joining.
Okay. Absolutely, absolutely.
Does anyone else have any more questions to share? Corey, can you think of anything else right now? There was a mention of Fitra Farms. I was thinking of Brother Omari earlier today because they did join us on one of our earlier Khalifa Conversations. And I am just absolutely, I'm going to try not to cry right now, but the miracle that seems to be occurring really, really has opened my heart to the power of Muslims coming together. And if we could take a few moments, maybe just to privately make dua for Brother Omari as well. Wow, I'm sorry. It's subhanAllah. I was so amazed the impact that family had on the community to pull so many people together, and then the miracle that occurred. It shows the benefit of our connectedness as a community. And that's another benefit that I hope to find through our work for the environment. If we can all aim for a common good and partner with other organizations that are working to do the same, the way that Green Muslims and Green Ramadan work together, the way that the co-op can be working with the farms. I think it will strengthen our community in so many ways, including in our ability to call upon our Creator for miracles. Please, anyone, feel free to bring up any other questions that you have about the topic at hand or things that you would like to share. But if we could take a few minutes to remember Brother Omari and pray that he does truly heal from this horrific accident, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Sister Beverly, for sharing your email. Inshallah, we'll look it up and be able to connect you with more people as well. Corey, do we have any, well, first of all, any other comments or questions that anyone would like to share? Sister Amina, thank you so much for all that you are doing. It's very exciting what you've started, and it just shows me how the interest is growing, the concern is growing for a more natural lifestyle that's friendlier to the earth, including the human beings that live on it. Please feel free to share anything else, any other thoughts or information that you'd like. We really do want to encourage people to participate in your co-op, and I look forward to the area covered expanding as well.
Thank you, Sister Beverly, for sharing that. That's really exciting about the halal lambs. That's actually something that my husband and I have kind of been looking into. So it's nice, and we'll definitely be in touch with you guys. And we'd love to start that conversation and support Muslim business. We actually are not working with any Muslim farmers right now. SubhanAllah, Fitra Farms was one that we were actively seeking to work with, and SubhanAllah, with the accident, of course, the dynamics have changed for the family and for the farm. But Sister Beverly, inshallah, we'll definitely be in touch. It's wonderful to have you here. One last thing that I wanted to add for Tayyib Market is something that we just started this week. It's been on my mind since we started, is our Give a Box option, where we are allowing for people to buy a box, and then we work directly with social services organization to have that box either delivered or picked up by a family in need or someone who is facing food insecurity due to COVID-19. And that's our way to increase our impact beyond just, we try to keep our boxes affordable, but we understand affordable is relative to everyone. And so this is one way that our boxes can increase in impact. And we just started that this past weekend, and inshallah, we try to meet our goal of at least 10 boxes donated each week, inshallah, to families in need. And if it grows beyond that, then by all means, we're able to provide more for our community.
That's beautiful. Again, making it even more Islamic by bringing in other aspects of the deen. That's really a very holistic take. And obviously you do put a lot of thought into keeping it as holistic as possible. Anyone else? Anything else anyone like to add, share, ask? Sister Corey, I know you didn't read us a poem this time. Do you have one on you?
Oh, I don't have one on me right now. I should have, but I did look up, several places in the Quran where Allah talks about halal and tayyib, and how in that same ayah it's talking about being grateful and fearing Allah, having taqwa. So I think that's an important to remember when we're talking about halal and tayyib. It's, you know, it's part of our deen. And I love how Sister Amina is, you know, I love how when people connect their deen to their work, to their jobs, to their livelihood. That shows like you gotta have faith. You gotta have faith to connect your faith to your livelihood. You know what I'm saying? And this is what Khalifa Conversations is about. It's about remembering Tawheed. So it's our connection to Allah, it's our connection to the planet, but it's also our connection to each other, our connection to our food, and all these blessings of Allah. All of these things are connected, and that's part of Tawheed, and that's why I love these conversations. You know, Sister Amina and Sister Beverly making these connections, like, oh, I didn't know you were out there, and now you're here. Alhamdulillah. And I just love this, when Tawheed is manifest, you know, in plainly, at least to me. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Corey, that's really a very beautiful point. And I've been leading summer camp this past week outside at a farm. My family has been very careful under the COVID-19 situation, but I realized that families are going crazy. The kids need to get out. And I decided to participate because it really is the safest situation that you can imagine, in a very large open area. We're outside all day long. Alhamdulillah, we have the shade of the trees because there is forest on this farmland, and we also have a nice shelter to get out of the sun and water running from a well. But now that I'm working directly with a farm, my personal passion, although I absolutely want to feed my family with local produce and I'm trying to grow things in a garden, my personal passion, as Corey knows very well, is nature and what we can do to preserve the earth as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it. And there will always be a tension between humankind and our farms, for example, and nature. But when the farms are local and smaller and more natural, the impact is so much less. Both Corey and I are connected with a group of homesteading Muslimas, and I read the stories about the wild animals occasionally getting to the chickens. And it's, you know, you don't want that to happen to your chickens, but it's a part of life and it's accepted. It's not like you're going to go and kill that animal for doing what is its natural tendency. And these smaller local farms really are much kinder to the environment than the massive ones in other parts of the country, and they have much less of an impact than shipping produce from other sides of the earth. Yes, we will always want our bananas and avocados and whatever else, but perhaps if we eat more of what is local and current, we'll need less of those other things and ultimately be kinder to the earth. So although some people may see nothing but conflict between farming and nature, we need both. And these local farms really are, I think, the best path to take. And they need our support too, because there's always a risk that they'll be bought out by larger companies, or their land will be bought up because it can be sold in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. for so much more. So they need our support. And if we can show it, you know, by purchasing from them and being aware of them, I think it would be very, very helpful. So I'm glad we had a chance to share this, and we will definitely keep in touch and inshallah continue to work together to encourage our local communities to be more connected with the local environment, and buy local and in season. I think I've said my 2 cents.
Oh, okay. There's Ikram is tuning in from London. She recently discovered the ayah of Allah saying eat halal and tayyib. So I have changed, she says she's changed her lifestyle. Any websites or pages that you would recommend for her to follow? 7? Maybe greenmuslims.org would be a good place to start.
And then that's something that we need to follow through on. You know, as we connect with more, now I'm thinking locally, as in the United States, Washington, D.C. metro area. I'm thinking about the various farms and that we have around here, and everybody has a website and they have information on them. So I don't think it would be a waste to check out some of these local businesses, specifically lifestyle. Well, we do have greenmuslims.org is our website, and always feel free to email us with specific questions. There are, when you Google it, go ahead.
So you said you're tuning in from London, Ikram. One group that I really like from UK is Green Dean Tribe. And you can find them on Instagram. I'm sure they have a website, but I usually interact with them on Instagram. It's Green Dean Tribe. So, and also the Rabbani Project. I think they're also connected with them as well. So, for example, I think one of the things that Green Dean Tribe and the Rabbani Project work together to have like an ethical iftar, and they, you know, grow from that. So their ethical iftar was, I think it was, you know, vegetarian, and the things that they used to eat on and eat with were all things that could be recycled or reused. So I think that might be a great place to start for you, especially in the UK. So Green Dean Tribe and the Rabbani Project. I'll put those in the chat, inshallah.
Thank you, Corey. And now that you mentioned Ramadan, I mean, your organization focuses specifically, but it's practices that can be applied all year round. So do check out greenramadan.com. And Green Muslims puts together a Ramadan calendar every year as well, with daily recommendations. And some of them are spiritual, natural sort of practices, and others are recommendations for greening your lifestyle. And although we apply it to one day during the month of Ramadan, there are things that can be applied to every day of your life, including, you know, avoiding certain materials and eating locally and spending time in nature, so that you think more about the impact that you are having on the earth. But yeah, I think we should be putting together more recommendations for people who are consciously trying to make a shift in lifestyle. So thank you very much for sharing.
There's we got about 4 minutes left for this, but there's one point that I wanted to share. I think, Sevim, you were talking about how, you know, animals and farmers, sometimes they have that conflict with each other. But I love the mercy of Allah. So there is a hadith. I don't have time to pull it up right now, but there is a hadith that says that for every thing that a plant, or no, everything that a beast or some type of animal eats from whatever you are growing, like my blueberries that I haven't tasted yet because squirrels and birds are eating my blueberries. For all those things that you grow that another animal eats from, or even a person takes from, it's considered a charity on our behalf. So alhamdulillah for Allah's mercy, even though we can't taste that sweetness of the blueberry, alhamdulillah, it's charity on our behalf. So
I have it right in front of me, because I'm going to be in another Zoom chat tomorrow about the connections between nature and faith. But I think you did a pretty good job. It's, you know, quoted by Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said, "There is none amongst the Muslims who plants a tree or sows seeds, and then a bird or a person or an animal eats from it, but is regarded as a charitable gift from him." So maybe it's okay if the animals get some of the produce.
Well, alhamdulillah.
So so shall we close up? We did a good job of filling the hour. We'll keep working with the timing and seeing when most people are available. But Amina, thank you so much for joining today and being able to spread the word about what you're doing. We will continue to support you in any way possible. And thank you all for attending today. Please continue to join us for our Khalifa Conversations. We are intending to keep this as regular and monthly as possible, but it may take a while for us to figure out exactly what day and time it's going to be. But we'd really like to see the collection of people coming together to discuss how we can be living in a better way, in a more Islamic way that fits in better with the earth and with the natural way of living. We'd like to see more and more people coming together, and we do intend for this to be an opportunity to feel comfortable talking about such things, because it's still not the most common topic of conversation in our community, but inshallah it is growing. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Amina, thank you for sharing. Sister Beverly, thank you for telling us about your farm as well. We want to hear about others. Thank you everyone else for being with us. And Sister Corey, as always, thank you for running the show, because I would go crazy if I had to manage so many things at once.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Amina. I want to say thank you too.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you guys for the opportunity to be here. We are fairly new, so I was very excited when you guys reached out. I love supporting conversations. This is awesome, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. All right.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.